What's going on, family? Quick story and a little bit of helpful information regarding owner operators and how much money an owner operator can pocket at the end of the day. So I was just talking to a guy at the truck stop at the fuel stop, and just met the guy. I didn't know him. We was talking, we was chopping it up back and forth, right? We was bugging out, and he's telling me stuff, and I'm telling him stuff, right? And so we got to talk about money, right? So I let the guy know I drive for my pop right now, but I'm about to start driving my own truck, and I already know what kind of work I'm gonna be doing and what I'm gonna be pulling and how much I'm gonna be making and all of that good stuff, right? So make a long story short, he asked me, he's like, so you about to get your own truck, you're gonna be in state, not out the state, and you know what you're gonna be pulling already. So he's like, how much you plan to pocket at the end of the day with getting your own truck? And I let the guy know. I said, man, I plan on pocketing about $100 a day. And he looked at me and he said, $100 a day, that don't sound like a whole lot compared to what I would think somebody driving their own truck should be expecting to make. And so I let him know. I'm like, well, that's fine. And according to how I break down my numbers, that's what I'm gonna end up with at the end of the day. So we got to talking about how I break down my numbers, and I'm gonna let y'all know in this video how I break down the numbers as well. But he was bugging on what I was telling him at first, as far as pocketing $100 a day, and he was like, that ain't right, da 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 da. So again, we got to talking, and by the end of the conversation, he actually commended me, man. He actually was like, yo, that was what's the word I'm looking for? He congratulated me, commended me on how I run my numbers. He like, I get why you run your numbers like that. You're trying to, make sure you succeed. You're new and you're trying to make sure that you allot for everything, and that's smart, right? So after I left and I got to thinking about the stuff that we was talking about, I figured I'd go ahead and make a YouTube video about it, kind of run down why in my mind I'm only gonna be pocketing $100 a day after I get my own truck here, right? So I got my whiteboard pulled up right here, and I'm just gonna run down some simple numbers for you guys, right? So the first thing I wanna say, starting off with this, right, is, so today my truck grossed $850, okay? Right now I drive for my pop. I said that already, but I'm the only one that drives the truck. I pick up the check. I know what the truck grosses. I know the expenses and all that good stuff. I've said that before on these videos, right? But today, the truck that I'm driving grossed $850, okay? So the first thing is, with me, as far as I'm concerned, my truck needs to gross at least $750 a day. So right now, as a driver for my pop, I get paid a third of what my truck does. So in a few weeks, when I start driving my own truck, I may pay myself 30% as opposed to 33% of what my truck grosses, but that's another discussion, right? So my truck actually grossed $850 today, but again, my number personally that I need to make is $250. And I get paid a third of what my truck grosses. So in order for me to make $250 personally, my truck needs to gross at least $750. So that's the number I like to start off with. Even though today, for instance, my truck made more than $750, it made $850 today. Some days my truck does gross $1,000, $1,100, $1,150. It's probably about the most, maybe $1,200, $1,250. My truck has grossed before, but it doesn't average that much. But it does average more than $750. But I'd like to run my numbers on $750. Okay, as long as I'm bringing home $250 a day personally, then I can do what I need to do personally, right? And that's the whole purpose why I'm doing all this stuff. So we're gonna start off with a top figure of $750. Okay, that's why I got the whiteboard here, so I can draw on stuff and show y'all the figures here. Okay, so the first thing that would come out of that is fuel. So the fuel cost today for what the truck, for the work that the truck did, see if I can get this written out here. Fuel, hope you can understand that, was $250. Okay, fuel cost, depending on what kind of run you're doing, may differ. But for my truck to make the money that it made today, the fuel cost is $250. Okay, so that's $250 off of that, and then after that, driver pay would come out of that. The driver pay is a third. That's another $250. We'll just put down driver pay right there. So after that, simple figures, there's another $250 left after that. Okay, so what's the deal with that $250? Let me move this over here. Okay, and we're gonna start from right here at the top, because that's really the figure that we're looking at here. Okay, so The fuel and the driver pay are two expenses, okay? But there's the fuel, there's the insurance, there's the whatever maintenance the truck would need, there's the tags, there's the registration, there's a truck payment, okay? I'm gonna break this stuff down for you guys, let you understand this as well, okay? So you can understand why I said $100 a day, okay? So the total cost for all of the stuff that I just rolled off in my numbers and my expenses is $810. I got $250 a day, a week figured in for insurance, $1,000 a month, $250 a week for maintenance, $1,000 a month, which I hope not to use, but that's another story. I'll get back into that in a second. Another $250 figured in for a truck payment, which I actually don't have. I'll get back to that in a second. That's $750. And then as far as highway use and registration, I got that figured in at about $3,000 a year, which breaks down to about $250 a month. Not about, but $250 a month. And we'll just call that $60 a week. So if you add all that up, that's $810 for those expenses. And if you break that down by the day, then it's $160 a day in a 5-day week. So if you subtract that $160 from the $250, then you're only left with $90 at the end of the day. And I'm just gonna round that up to $100. So that's why I say that I only plan to be pocketing $100 a day when I get my own truck, okay? So now I wanna throw something else in there with these figures, okay, real quick. Because you would hear that and you would say, well, that something don't sound right about that. Again, I'm a new owner operator, and my objective is to succeed as an owner operator, not to ball out on a personal level. Okay, that's not my goal. People have different goals, all right? So with the $100 a day that the truck that's gonna be left over, that is $500 a week, $2,000 a month, okay? So right there is $24,000 a year that I plan to be able to save my first year as an owner operator. I would actually say that if an individual goes into business for themselves as an owner operator, you pay your taxes and you're able to save and pay all your bills, keep your credit good, not let anything go behind, and you're able to save, we'll just say $25,000 in your first year. I would say that was a decent first year as an owner operator. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to throw in there. All right, now the next thing I want to throw in there is the way that I do my expenses. I have savings built into my expenses, which is obviously smart to do, okay? So I mentioned the truck payment earlier of $250 that's factored into my expenses. This is money that I don't feel is my money, okay? Now, I won't have a truck payment. So that $250 a week, $1,000 a month, well, I'll essentially be paying it to myself, just like I was paying a truck payment. And I'm doing that. I've said that in other videos that I've created, but I'll be doing that for two reasons. One, I want to get myself in the habit of making a truck payment. If in the future I ever decide to get a truck payment, it'll be easier to make the mental shift from no payment to a payment if I'm literally already taking the money out of my checks and forgetting about it right now. That's the first thing. And then the second thing that helps me accomplish is if I do, or when I do decide to upgrade my truck in the future, I've already got money put aside for a down payment. I may even have enough put aside to actually just pay for the truck. Now at $1,000 a month, that is an additional $12,000 for the year. Go back to what I said a minute ago. I would say that if an individual is just getting started as an owner operator, and after your first year, you've paid all your bills on time, you've paid your taxes, and you've managed to save $36,000 your first year in business, I would say that is a pretty good year. The thing is, I don't necessarily consider this money, especially not at this point with me just starting off, I don't consider this money pocket money. I don't consider the money that I have set aside for a truck payment pocket money. I don't consider the money that's coming into my business that's going out to insurance or maintenance or anything else that could come up. I don't consider that stuff to be pocket money. So when he asked me, what do I plan on pocketing at the end of the day with getting my own truck, I'm looking at what I plan on keeping, what's actually mine. And you know, if I don't use that $1,000 a month that I got set aside for maintenance, At the end of the year, maybe it becomes my money. But right now, I don't even see that as money that I would pocket. I wouldn't even want to factor that in. I actually personally believe that's one of the biggest mistakes, or a big mistake, I should say, that an individual that is new to business ownership could make. Not separating, one, themselves from their business, and two, not separating all of the expenses of the business. There are two schools of thought on this. I will say that there are people that I've met before that will say, you know what, I don't scatter everything out like that. I'd rather just keep everything all together, whether it's a business bill, whether it's a personal bill, or whatever. For tax purposes, obviously I would separate that stuff, but for accounting purposes, you know what I mean, it's all bill money, and what's left over is all my money. I feel like it's easier for me to separate myself from my business personally, and to also separate all of the bills of my business as well, so that I account for everything and make sure I got money set aside for all of the incidentals that could come up as a new business owner, like breakdowns, or like needing a new truck in the future. I feel like not setting aside money for these things and basically saying everything in my account is my money can be a little bit tricky if you don't understand that technically it's not your money. Okay, tax money, in my opinion, needs to be separated. It doesn't need to be lumped all into the money that you consider to be your money. And I would say that a lot of owner operators, when you talk to them about what their bottom dollar is, what they actually pocket, what they actually bring it home, you're going to hear figures from different perspectives. You're going to hear some people just tell you what they bring home after fuel costs. You're going to hear some people tell you what they pocket after fuel costs and all expenses of the truck. And you're going to have some people that actually take out all of the fuel costs, all of the expenses in the truck, and a driver pay. Some people are not going to take out driver pay when they give you that figure. To me, it makes sense to factor all of that stuff in, because all of it is expenses that I want to make sure that I account for. So as far as I'm concerned right now, I plan on pocketing about $100 a day. And I feel like that's the safe way to do it. Okay, that's the safe way to do it. That's $24,000 a year. I know I will be able to put aside, and any of the other money that I have kind of built in, the truck payment that I won't be using, the maintenance fund that I may not be using, if all of that stuff becomes quote unquote my money at the end of the year, that's fine. But I wouldn't want to make those projections as a new owner operator. That's why I say I only plan on pocketing $100 a day as an owner operator, right? That's just how I run my numbers. I like to be extremely conservative with my projections. So if you got any comments or questions on what I talked about, what I discussed in this video, if you got an opinion on what I discussed in this video, or if you got your own perspective on what I discussed in this video, totally feel free to leave it down in the comments. I would love to know what you think. See you.
Maurice Bay, the Helpful Trucker here. For more helpful CDL tips, go here, or consider subscribing to my YouTube channel right here. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but instead you chose to be here with me, and I really appreciate that.